Hey, this is Dan with Guardian Mold Prevent. Want to take a look at a home located in New Lenox, Illinois that has several areas throughout the house that are affected with mold growth in one way or another. First, we're starting in the basement, and as you can see at the bottom of the paneling that's on these walls, there has been a layer of mold, a fine film of mold that has developed because the basement took on a little bit of water, and the bottom of the walls actually physically got wet, and then the moisture content in the air was elevated greatly, and it was driving growth to develop on the walls themselves even higher than the moisture had developed. Now I want to talk about what happens when you have an area where you've got paneling over drywall. You can see that there is mold that is developed directly on the paneling, but I want to take a look on the other side of the wall, and you can see here that this is actually the exposed layer of drywall that was below that paneling. Drywall is essentially a paper product. It's very high in cellulose content, and mold loves it. And when a paper product is covered with a wood piece of paneling, that surface traps the moisture, it wicks it up the wall further, and there's a lot of growth that then ensues. Now we're up on the main level. This is actually in the foyer of the house, and there is a roof leak above this area, and as you can see, the moisture's been getting in. It's affected the actual drywalled wall, and as and also the wallpaper there, and you can see that it's pulled away from the wall. Now I want to look at the outside of the house, and you can see there's a tarp right in that area, but I also want you to notice on the wall of the second floor, they tried to patch this by using tar, and they tried to keep the moisture out that way, and unfortunately it just didn't work, and mold developed in the foyer. Now I want to look into the attic space, and some of this footage may be a little bit blurry, but I think you're going to get a good picture of what's going on up here. The plywood sheathing in the rafters in this attic space has developed mold growth. You can see if you look close enough, and as the footage moves forward, we'll get some really clear shots of it. But you can see that there's been mold growth, discoloration, dark staining on the actual plywood itself, and this is a result of condensation that develops in an attic space. In this case, there's very little upper ventilation, and there's absolutely no lower ventilation in this attic space. And so what happens is that when warm air gets up into the attic, it's supposed to be forced out the upper ventilation and replaced by cold air in the wintertime. When that doesn't happen and the warm air gets trapped in the attic space, you actually end up reaching dew point, condensating, and then mold growth develops. The way to avoid this is to have the proper ventilation in an attic. Now I want you to look at the overhang on the second floor there, and as you can notice, there is no vents cut into that overhang there. So the attic space in and of itself actually was not being ventilated at all, and so that's where the mold growth came from. So this home is in desperate need of mold remediation, and there are several areas that are problematic throughout the entire house.